Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, yesterday the Minister for Social Services gave an answer to a question about the National Rental Affordability Scheme, and in that he made a number of claims about the National Rental Affordability Scheme and my stewardship of that scheme when I was Housing Minister. The first claim was that this is a taxpayer subsidised scheme to provide low rental dwellings to people for low-income workers of Australia. In this particular case, it's not being used to house low-income workers for Australia, but up to 1,500 international students. In fact, on the Minister's own figures, fewer than 8% of tenants are overseas students. The other 92% are low-income workers, sole parents, pensioners, families, local students and the unemployed. The Minister's second claim is...
The Leader of the House. The member for Sydney will resume his seat.
If members of the opposition studied how to give a matter of personal explanation, because what the Deputy Leader of the Labor Party is doing is not showing where she's been misrepresented, but instead attempting to argue the point that the Minister raised yesterday.
The Minister will resume his seat. The member for Sydney is, in fact, arguing a point of view, saying that on her numbers she believes that you can draw a different conclusion. That is argument and not a point of personal explanation. Yes, but it's the. But I would say to the Minister, resume her seat. I would say to the Deputy Leader that a misrepresentation has two parts. One, to show where you believe you've been misrepresented, and then two, to show why that's wrong. But you may not put an argument that simply says, I argue that a different interpretation should be put upon it. That's argument, and you can choose a different form of the House in which to argue those points. So I think the adjournment. So, quite frankly, it is not in order at this stage. Do you have a second one?
I'll move to the next claim that the Minister made yesterday. His claim, and I quote, is so instead of providing for workers, it's providing for the investors and developers. In fact, Madam Speaker, over yesterday, the last published data, over 64% of those who reported their employment status were low-income workers. Well, he said they weren't for low-income workers, and they are for low-income workers.
The facts speak. It's a fact.
I'm sorry, I had my finger on the button. The Leader of the House.
And you've lost the election.
The Leader of the House.
Madam Speaker, the Deputy Leader is basically admitting that the Minister was right, but she disputes the percentages of who benefited or didn't
but
benefit.
This is also
that is
argument.
not a factual explanation for a misrepresentation, and it's quite out of order.
The Minister will resume his seat. The Minister will resume his seat. The Manager of Opposition Business.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, you made a request at question time, I think yesterday, that members go collect the Hansard so they were able to quote precisely to be able to make sure that this process could be done as precisely and clinically as possible. The Deputy Leader has done exactly that.
The Deputy Leader will resume her seat. The Deputy Leader will resume her seat. The point of order that the Manager of Opposition Business just made is quite correct. You are reading from the Hansard, correct. But where the problem with your explanation is then in saying why it is wrong, you are presenting an argument, not simply a statement of fact. No, it is a simple.
These are simple facts.
When you start to use, the Deputy Leader will resume her seat. The Deputy Leader will resume her seat. Now, if you listen to the way in which the member for Grayndler presents a personal explanation, you'll get a good example of the way it should be done. But quite frankly, you are now entering into the field of argument, and it is out of order. And I suggest you utilise the adjournment to make the argument points.
and I quote, "The targets set by this scheme, by the Labor Party, by the Labor government, have simply not been met."
The Deputy Leader of the Opposition will resume her seat. It is not in order. Now, I call the Leader of the House. I suggest the adjournment is available, or a 90-second statement, or a 3-minute statement. Not here. I listened to it earlier. Well, this is a third one.
This is the third one.
All right. The third one we'll hear.
Madam Speaker, yesterday the minister said, and I quote, "The targets set by this scheme, by the Labor Party, by the Labor government have simply not been met. In fact, the target was to increase the stock of low-income housing. It has increased the stock of low-income housing by 14,000 so far and 24,000 more on the way." Madam Speaker, I have a further personal explanation to make today.
It better be better than the first two.
Oh, Madam Speaker, that sort of commentary.
The member for Isaacs will remove himself on 94A.
Today,
You can talk. You're a disgrace.
Madam Speaker.
If we will have some order in this place. We have had a breakdown in decorum today, and we won't have any more of it. We will deal with this point, and then we will move on to papers.
Today, the Minister for Social Security criticised the nation-building economic stimulus package housing provision of
The
public
member for
housing.
Franklin will desist.
He referred to me as hapless, and so I'm pointing out to you, Madam Speaker,
This
exactly
is
where
this is
he
quite
has.
out of order, and the member will resume her seat.
Where,
The member will resume her seat. To stand in there and to say you're having a personal explanation when you're complaining about the use of a piece of grammar is just out of order. I'm sorry, you're not misrepresented with an adjective. Now we'll go on to papers.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, documents are tabled in accordance with the list circulated to honourable members earlier today. Full details of the documents.
And you'll leave the chamber under 94A.
You'll be named if you don't be careful.
Indeed. The Leader of the House will desist, and the member for Rankin will leave under 94A. The Manager of the Opposition Business.
Madam Speaker, I believe it is a serious reflection on the chair for the Leader of the House to be threatening who will be named, and he should withdraw that comment.
I can assure the Manager of Opposition Business that the only person who will make a decision about whether someone is to be named is me. And it might assist the House if the— Thank you. Now we will go on to papers.